One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It is May 24th, 2013. It is another Friday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole, and it is Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend observed on Monday, or well, Memorial Day itself observed on Monday, so this is the Memorial Day weekend. And I definitely need the 2 days off. Been a very busy slamming week, even though I took Wednesday off to get caught up on off-air interviews so I can air them in the coming weeks for you guys. I have so much stuff coming down the pike for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is literally going to blow your minds. I got 6 off-air interviews, including Rick Simpson, the Rick Simpson, 4-hour interview. I think I'm going to end up doing that like a special broadcast where it's going to end up airing on like a Saturday night. I got to talk to Joe about it and work out the details because it's literally, I don't want to cut it off. I want people to be able to hear it. It's a 4-hour interview, mega interview with Rick Simpson. I got another interview with Charlotte Iserby about Skull and Bones. Judith Baker, you all know her, on the JFK assassination, and David Ferry, who was involved in it. Next week, Friday, I got Garen Angel. My interview with him, I'm going to be airing and announcing the winners of the Magical Butter Machine giveaway. That's next Friday. So if anybody has anybody that you want to recommend, you can after Monday. I'm going to stop after this Monday, which will be the 27th. I'm going to stop taking recommendations because I have to be able to go through everything and pick one because I got a bunch. So up until Monday, you can email me vfor911@gmail.com, vfor911@gmail.com. And if you know of somebody that's sick, but I already have narrowed down some of the finalists. I have narrowed down through some of the stuff. That's why I've gotten a lot of submissions. So by Monday, I'm gonna I'll give it the rest of the weekend. But by Monday, I'm gonna have to cut it off. That way, I can go through the submissions. So I've already got some narrowed down to a finalist category. I believe I've found the veteran, at least one veteran who needs it, because I have a bunch of veterans that it's hard to it's really hard to sort through all this and pick out. So I feel bad doing this. Anyway, Monday, and that's the cutoff date. So when we get back, I'm going to bring my guest on. So don't go anywhere. We're back in 1 minute. My guest is Mike Vail from Strat Risks. If you don't know who he is after tonight, you're gonna. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm going to introduce you to him in 1 minute, so stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. If you don't know who Mike Vail is, you haven't listened to my older broadcasts, if you haven't been around since the other network, if you've only been listening to me since my days here at Unbound, then you're not going to be familiar with who Mike Vail is. But Mike is a radio show host in his own right, an extensive independent journalist / researcher, an all-around really intelligent individual, and he's a good friend of mine. And I have to tell you, I mean, if you go back and listen to my archives, you'll see over the years I've done a pretty decent amount of radio time with Mike, at least probably 20 to 25 hours worth of radio with him, and that's how much I respect his opinion. And that's why I was glad to be able to get him out of his little sequester that he put himself into for the past couple months. He's been on hiatus, and I'm glad to be able to have him back for the first time on air in months. So let's bring him up. Mike, welcome back to the broadcast, brother.
Yo, it has been a minute now, a serious minute since I've done any radio. And, man, thanks for having me on, literally dragging me away from my cave to hang out with you, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, literally, ladies and gentlemen, Mike's literally disappeared from the airwaves for about, 5 or 6 months. And, I mean, it was a definite noticeable missing presence from the air. He used to, for those of you that don't know, Mike used to come on at least once a month with me before I came over to Unbound. So it's a pleasure to have you back. And, Mike, there's been so much insanity since the last time you were on, dude.
Oh, man, at this point in time, like with everything going on and the scandal, if you will, I've been almost like biting my teeth, chomping at the bit, like, it will be great if I could do some radio now. But where do I really want to do radio now? And whom with? And all these questions. But you're right, dude. It is complete madness. And while my family wanted to lynch me for not supporting Obama, nowadays it's a bit different. But they're always distracted, domesticated slaves, so not much has changed.
Yeah, it's good to see that there are people that I know that were like rabid Obama supporters that are now like, well, perhaps he is acting like a tyrant. Perhaps there's something wrong with the way he's I don't agree maybe with the whole IRS thing. And I'm like, that's it? That out of everything, that's what you don't agree with?
Oh, dude, see, here's the catch, all right? With the IRS thing, everyone hates the IRS. Everyone, okay? And if you find out that the IRS is being used as an economic weapon against you, based upon either your politics, whatever have you, then of course you're going to be pissed because, hey, you could be next. It doesn't really matter. Maybe the next administration will be Republican and they'll start, basically taking to task all the Democrats and independents and everyone else and, dealing with their finances. We're going to audit you. Bring in your books. They better be straight or you're going to jail. I mean, that is a weapon? Hell no, man. That is completely ridiculous.
And now more and more people are going to look at this and be like, let me take a closer look at the IRS. What are they about? What are these conspiracy theorists always spouting off about the IRS and the Federal Reserve? Because those that might have looked at this type of stuff that when we talk about it in the past and said, oh, you guys are nuts. Now they're going to look at it and go, well, the government just gave the conspiracy theorists credibility. Okay, if that's and I'm using the term conspiracy theorists because that's the pejorative label that they would use. So now you literally have people that are going to be like, okay, maybe 6 months ago I would have thought you were a crazy Looney Tune, but now, no, I don't think you're a crazy Looney Tune now, because now they literally got caught going after the AP. They got caught, going after the Tea Party and conservative-oriented people. They went after like some 87-year-old woman, dude. Oh, don't even get me started on Fast and Furious. Don't even get me started. Do you know how many people think that's a non-issue? I've had arguments with people about that, Mike, in the past few weeks. Well, that's not a real thing. Who cares? That's a conspiracy theory. I'm like, really? Go ask Brian Terry's parents if they think it's a conspiracy theory.
Now, when people use the term conspiracy theory, like you said, pejorative term, what it really means is that they're being dismissive of any information you give them. They may know nothing about the topic, but if it doesn't sound like, like it's, oh, that doesn't seem like that would ever happen. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. They can just toss it out in the trash, right? And so then what I do is I just hit them over the head with just like facts and facts. Okay, here's the AP. Here's USA Today. Here's this. well, here's the other thing they do is dismiss them. Well, you may have some truth to that since you have all this information. It's like, you know nothing, and you tell me that you're dismissing my information, but you have nothing to bring to the table other than talking points you heard some other spokeshole say.
And there's a lot of them, dude. I mean, if you turn on any of these networks right now, it's amazing to actually see the mainstream media going after him, which means only one thing: they're getting it set up for Hillary to run for president in 2016. I mean, that's the only reason why they would do what they're doing to Obama. They were literally over the course of a night, because the night before Chris Matthews was on air, or maybe even 2 nights, but I think it was about only one night before. Within like a 2-day period, Matthews was on air with Al Sharpton saying anybody that criticizes Obama, any criticism of these scandals is racist based. It's because he's black. It has nothing to do with any of the shady things him or his administration has done. It's only because they don't like black people. And then 2 days later, he's bitching at him and calling him a tyrant. And it's like, why the sudden switch over?
Are they being racist then? But you're right, though. I mean, they are the damage control. They come in and sweep up and deflect and do as best they can to spin the situation into a positive. But, I mean, now there's so many scandals hovering around him that, he's basically backpedaling, spinning out of control, and his team all out there. Well, this is just something the Republicans dredged up, whatever have you. It doesn't matter who dredged it up. Is it fact? Is it true? And, this guy has been like an apologist for a while now. I remember in the Bush administration, I said this on air. I said the power that you allow that man to have and his cabinet to have will be used in excess by the next administration. And so more power we give them, it goes, let's say you give them an inch, they take a mile, and then the next administration, the next, and to some point where they won't even care if you know about it. They'll laugh in your face because they have ultimate power. They have the ability to disappear you, or therefore drone you, as they killed Americans recently here.
I'm surprised they actually owned up to that, too.
I know.
My neighbor said to me the other day, I walked outside, and he said, can you believe they killed 4 American citizens with drones? And I looked at him sideways for a second. He goes, no, I'm being sarcastic. Like, it's really? Like, nobody knew they were killing American citizens? He's like, how many more people have they killed with drones? And this guy is what you would consider to be a lefty, or like a uber liberal in his his political beliefs. He's a nice guy, but I'm saying, like, if you looked at his political beliefs and if you tried to buy into that left-right paradigm, you would label him as like a lefty or a liberal. And even he's like, come on, they kill people with drones. They kill innocent civilians all the time with those crappy things. And he was going off about them, and I was like, wow, when your base is calling you out, there's a problem.
That's bellwether, man. That is definitely bellwether. Because when it has gone beyond the pale to the point that even your most die-hard, ardent supporters are saying, what the hell is this? Okay? I mean, we used to say Bush light. But Bush was horrible, but Obama is on a new level. It has nothing to do with the man's race. Okay? I'm black. I don't like the guy's policies whatsoever, and I'm sure he's killed more than 4 Americans with drones. I've seen them gun down kids and their mothers in helicopter gunships on camera.
Yeah, while watching it, drinking coffee and snarling the whole time, probably.
Like they got a Super Bowl. Yeah, we killed them. It's like, it's civilians. They don't care anymore. They'll bomb a damn funeral, okay? And then when the people go to pick up the bodies, they'll bomb them too in the double tap.
And then they'll make a video of it, and then anybody they'll blow up. They'll blow them up figuratively and literally. They'll blow them up in the media, saying how the guys involved were heroes, and then within a week or 2 weeks, they'll all die in training accidents or a helicopter crash. I mean,
oh yeah, but have you noticed though the crackdown on not only journalists, alternative media, and also really whistleblowers. Whistleblowers nowadays, I mean, it's shut the hell up and take it, because what they're doing now, when only really a lot of despot countries spy on their own journalists and kill them, okay? And really what's going on with the Wikileaks, and I don't know if I really trust Assange and all of that, but when it comes down to, you've got facts, you've got documented facts that you have to bring to the table, and when you make the media so damn scared that they'll ignore the facts, then we've got a problem. This country has gone way too far away from what it used to be, when even the media is like, well, they're watching us now. There's only certain things I can say. Well, I mean, if that's it, then we're done. If there's no more truth-telling, no more released information, whether it's unclassified, classified, whatever have you, if it's in the public's interest to know, then we should know, as long as it's not killing someone. As long as you're not, like, naming names of someone who could die because of it. And we've gone, man. It's despotism right now. Nepotism and despotism.
Yeah, I definitely don't trust Assange, and that gets me critiques by people. They're like, Assange is a hero. No. What Bradley Manning did was a hero, and, them going after Assange aside, I really think that that's a whole shady thing, and I question how come Israel was the only country, and this isn't the Jews did it. I'm just saying, how come they're the only country that, out of all the things that got leaked, they were the only one that didn't have anything that was really damaging to them. And it's when you look up his ties, there are it's not let's say it's not unconceivable or inconceivable, whatever the proper usage of the word is. It's not out of the ordinary for a organization like the CIA or Mossad to have their fingers involved in something like this. So
front company, man. I mean,
exactly.
They do it all the time.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me. We'll just put it that way. And But then people, jump on it, be like, oh, they released documents. Let's support them. Let's give them money. Next thing you know, you've tied your sow to a horse that you shouldn't be tying it to. And next thing you know, you're on the list because you're handing out information, and that's a honeypot. Well, I mean, Bradley Manning, case in point. He went to WikiLeaks, gave them the information, and who's the one rotting in a prison cell right now?
Thank you.
I know Assange is sequestered in the embassy or whatever.
What are they actually doing to really help the man? I mean, they talk about him every now and then, but they really haven't done anything to help the man, to get the man, free. Nothing.
No, I would say the protesters on the ground and to the people that show up to his court hearings are the ones that have done more. I mean, I'm sure, them throwing their support behind him and everything does help, but still, no, you're right. There could be, at least in my eyes, I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know the full details behind the scenes, but I'm sure there's more that he could do or WikiLeaks could do. The people on the ground themselves that have been showing up to the trial, those people are amazing. I mean, they're just everyday people that are pissed off at this whole situation, and they're out there trying to let this kid know that there's people that, don't worry, we support you. I mean, they're throwing him in.
What about habeas corpus? Okay, bring out the body. I mean, this kid has really been in a damn near deprivation tank for I don't even know how long. It's really sad that they just say we can do it. We don't care. This has to do with military and everything else. I mean, it is just horribly wrong. This country's gone horribly wrong, and we put the country in cruise control, and this is where things have ended up, and this is where we are.
Dude, it really is like we live in bizarro world. I mean, it's the only way to describe it. See something, say something, unless it's war crimes and torture, and then don't say anything or else you go to jail for life as an enemy combatant. It's just ridiculous.
If you're gonna snitch on your neighbor, see if you see something, say something. But you find some dirt on us, you better shut your MF mouth.
That's basically what their policy is. That's exactly what their policy is. Snitch on your neighbor, snitch on your family, your loved ones, your friends. Everybody could be Al-Qaeda and terrorists, but when you actually find the government doing something terroristic and really evil, well, you better just shut your mouth and not say anything. In that case, then you don't say something or see something. You know what I mean?
Also, look at the times we live in. Everyone is so wrapped up in fear, okay? Wrapped up in germs. I need my hand sanitizer.
You know what? I don't have to cut us off because the break's sneaking up, but that's a really good point. And we're going to pick it up on the other side of the break. People are wrapped up in fear, and that's all that's getting pumped out over the mainstream. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. StratRisks.com. Check it out. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Mike, going to break, you brought up a good point, and we were chatting about this during the break, and I just want to, continue with it. It's every day you turn on the TV and it's fear, and it's not just the news, although the news is constant fear. I mean, once in a while it's, a puppy got saved from a well or some, feel-good story, but then immediately it's back down into hell. They jerk your emotional chain like that to create what's called cognitive dissonance. But it's not even just the news organizations. Now when you turn on, like, any TV show, dude, everything is all these cop shows. It's either reality, like real crime stories. The next-door neighbor came over with a hatchet and chopped up Bob's face. Or it's CSI, whatever friggin' city it's in, or Law and Order, Special Victims Crime Unit, horrific crime unit, whatever the hell it's called. And by the way, I said this before, with Law and Order, if you notice, every story, the basis of every story is the Constitution is bad, and that's why rapists and pedophiles and murderers get away with crimes, because they have constitutional rights. And if we could just do away with that pesky Constitution, we could clear all the scum off the streets. That's the basic premise of almost every Law and Order episode. But I digress. Those shows are nothing but fear, dude. I mean, you turn on the TV and it's like, no matter what channel, it's like fear, 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 click, fear, for fear, fear, fear.
Oh, dude, they have like the celebrity ghost stories and the first 24, and I mean everything's murder, 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 murder. You got some spooky looking dude in a trench coat doing a spiel. He was last seen in San Jose. It's like, do we really need this crap? And then, the whole idea of germs and fear and, the African killer bees are coming. And then, we're afraid of germs. We humans at the top of the frigging food chain are now afraid of germs. I know there are some germs that can kill us, yes, but it won't be the germs, that you can find around your house that you're like wiping down everything, with haze. And, my friends' children now, they carry wipes in the car and they're wiping their hands like 5 times a day. And their immune systems are like, 0.1. They go outside. Next thing you know, they're sniffing. It's like, yes, go outside and play in the dirt, get ringworm. You'll be a lot healthier for it. And then the flip side of that coin, you've got these a-holes, creating H1N1 super viruses, in some national laboratory somewhere. And between the pumping of the fear and the viruses, and this virus will kill you, you have to get the shot. These fools, I remember a drill, and I probably could still find video of it, where they had a drill about a super virus. And they were literally telling people to pull over and roll up their sleeves. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Literally the guy like rolls down his window. What are you guys doing? We're doing a drill for super virus. Please roll up your sleeve. Okay. And just rolls up his sleeve like, excuse me. What are you putting in me? What do you think you're putting in me?
They would have been like, no. No,
yeah.
No, son, you don't understand. This is ordered by my commander that I give this to you. No, Bubba, you don't understand. You're not sticking anything in me, okay? To quote Michael Badnarik, you bring your needle, and I'll bring my 45, and we'll see which one makes a bigger hole. You ain't coming at me with that crap.
And now with all these military drills, out in the open now, where you've got helicopters swooping around at night and having people all freaked out and feared. Now them changing the Pentagon's DoD's code to allow the military to deal with unrest. Are they concerned about unrest? Maybe, possibly.
Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. That's normal.
It's normal.
Pussy comitatus is an old concept, Mike. Stop it. It's outdated.
What is that? Was that Latin? Jeez, that's such an old language. It's outdated.
It's the whole, the whole idea of the Magna Carta is outdated. We should just do away with it,
You know what? Most people don't even know that after the Magna Carta was created, the very same king who basically allowed his citizenry to draft it, wiped out all his enemies who were part of writing the Magna Carta.
Yeah, probably one by one, had them slaughtered, arrested, imprisoned, did whatever.
Because basically they were not going to obey the king unless there was some sort of rules laid down for like every man, is equal and such and so forth. And so finally he relented and, they came up with the Magna Carta. And then after the fact, he killed them all. That's how it is now. And, NDAA and everything else.
And let me tell you what, dude, if all these tyrants throughout history had the opportunity to have drones, if King George could have had drones, he would have used them. If Hitler and Stalin could have had the drones that they have today, not the stuff that they had back then, they would have used them. I mean, look what Hitler and Stalin did do. All right, I'm going to cut us off because we got a break sneaking up. Ladies and gentlemen, when we get back, more. Go check out stratrisks.com while we're at break. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Strat Risks, because the CIA visits, and so should you. Not only do they pump out fear through the TV and the radio, music, and everything, they also pump out stuff that changes people's opinions of themselves, Mike. You know, you get these young girls that are, they're into. They start like being bulimic and they start having eating disorders at like 11, 12 years old because they're reading these magazines. Now they're sexualizing kids at a really young age. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, dude, did you see that what they're doing with I forget, I think it was Victoria's Secret. Well, one of these underwear companies created a big ruckus not too long ago because they're releasing a line for like preteens.
Oh my God! Are you serious?
Yeah, like 13-year-old kids or like 14-year-old girls, like that age they're marketing at. And Miley Cyrus's little sister. I wrote an article about this. It wasn't an exclusive. Actually, I should rephrase. I didn't write it. I posted an article on Federal Jack about this probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and it still gets a ton of hits. And usually the parents that see it are just appalled. But Miley Cyrus's little sister, like 2 years ago, was marketing a lingerie line to little kids. Like, that's absolutely unacceptable, dude. It's crazy.
Dude, I mean, okay, look, when you have a situation where they're basically hypersexualizing your children now, and have you seen these little shows where they have a child and, you know, a child's like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, and they're all dressed up like a trollop, running around, you know, getting awards and such.
You mean Toddlers and Tiaras, the show?
Where the Honey Boo Boo came from.
I feel that every parent involved in that show, all the way up to the producers that created, the cameramen, anybody involved in creating that show should be locked up for child pornography. Seriously, okay? That's disgusting what they do. That's what creates pedophiles. That kind of behavior, because you're showcasing your kid and sexualizing them by putting them on little outfits and making them do all sorts of adult-like dance moves. I won't even say the word sexy dance moves because it's disgusting to even use that word in the same sentence as talking about children. So if they're adult-like dance moves with little kids performing them, and the parents, like a bunch of barking seals, sit there in the audience.
Oh yeah, because of course there's some money in it for them. I mean, essentially, you look at someone like Honey Boo Boo, and basically her diet is pancakes, Mountain Dew, and Red Bull, and somehow they dress her up like a little strumpet, trollop, chicken head hoe, and they just strut her out there and like, make some money, honey. I mean, it is sad. It is sad. They used to talk about Rome and how Rome became degenerated. I mean, our society has become degenerated. We've always had, problems and people being, individuals and just being, I guess I can't curse on that. Just being, asses in general. But, to where the point where you got kids cutting themselves and being emo, dressing up like sluts at such an early age now, and all the push on homosexuality and, if you want to be homosexual, if you want to be homosexual, that's okay. That's just fine. It's like when you're, 20, 30 years old and whatever your sexual preference is, behind closed doors is your friggin' business and I don't give a care in the world about it. But when you push it on a child and really just screw up a child's head, I remember when I was in school and sexual education was basically, here are the parts and we're done. Now it is much more detailed.
Well, dude, they're sexualizing kids in any way, shape, or form is absolutely disgusting, and they're doing it because it's not about they get people riled up and they'll say, well, it's about rights and this. No, it's not about any of that. Okay, you're being used as a political football. What they're doing is brainwashing these kids to get rid of their morals. So that way, when they're older, okay, there are no morals. It's easier for them to get away with a bigger, worser things like murder and genocide and things, and people will go along with it because their morals have been completely flushed down the toilet.
But also, if you take that into account, where their morals have gone really wrong, if they see their government doing some of the things that they do and that others do, then it's not really a big deal now, is it? And also people getting their little feelings hurt and their little panties in a bunch every time someone says something they don't like. It's not up to me to censor myself to make you feel good, okay? It's not about that. I say what I want to say, what I feel I should say. And now, I had this problem myself. I was someplace in a bar and I said something that I just had to say when people were talking about a discussion about politics, and the whole room literally turned on me. I can't believe you said that. It's like, yeah, I said it. So what? If you don't like it, that's fine. Okay, it is my right to say it. But now people self-censor themselves, damn near self-neuter themselves for the sake of the collective.
Well, see, that's part of this bigger agenda. They have to destroy morals. They have to, and I'm not saying that people's personal sexual preference, by the way, is morally wrong. I've spouted off on this on air 100,000 times. I don't care what anybody. I love everybody equally. I really don't care what your sexual preference is, and I think the state doesn't have any business in it. And nobody else has any business to tell you who you should love either. I mean, I don't have any business telling anybody who they should love, and I don't think anybody has any business telling anybody else who they should love either. But my righteous anger is aimed at what they tweak into the kids' heads, and I'm not saying that equality or anything like that shouldn't be taught to children. No, by far. Actually, they should teach kids that everybody is equal and nobody has any special rights, period. We're all humans and we all should just be good to each other. But they don't. They teach these kids ideas of equality, right? And they say, oh, well, this group's not equal, but they strive to be. And then they push the emotional crap on, and it's not just on kids.
Class warfare, too.
It's all a game. Look, straight up, we're all equal, okay? I don't care what color you are, what your sexuality is. We're all equal. You don't have to ask somebody for permission to love somebody else. I think it's crap. I've done shows on this. You could fix that whole problem by understanding the way the system is set up and actually going after the problem that creates that symptom, but not, going after the symptom itself isn't going to do anything because the problem itself will still be there and you'll still get used.
Look at their leaders, though. I mean, look at these teens and their role models. I mean, you take someone like what the hell name is that chick? The one that came out with the meat dress.
Oh, dude! Well, she's an Illuminati puppet. Yes, she's one of these Project Monarch little mind control puppets. Lady Gaga.
Yeah, Lady Gaga, and they drag these little freaks out, Dude, and
there's
say,
one
kids.
Kesha. This one Kesha. She's pretty popular now. There's a video I got. She was drinking her own urine, I guess, on MTV or whatever.
God, man.
And she has video. Her one hit song now is called "Die Young," and the video for it is all these kids partying in an abandoned warehouse, and they're all partying, doing drugs and drinking and having promiscuous sex. And the whole theory, the ongoing theme, I should say, of the song is "You're gonna die young. You're gonna die young." It's repeated over and over and over and over and over again. In your
just tell them
programming.
To kill themselves, all right. I mean, but that is it. I mean, what you see that is pumped into kids' heads is really the national dialogue. People worship their idols like they were gods, and whatever they're into, their kids get into. The kids get into because it's pushed in the media. And then what do they push? Emptiness, sorrow, depression, kill yourself. It's like kids nowadays, like you said before, they don't go outside and play. And so they have chemical imbalances. All they do is stay inside all day, watch TV, and play games. And of course, they're completely out of shape. And their minds aren't straight. They don't have any social interaction. They're texting each other instead of talking to each other. I mean, what kind of world we live in if this goes on for the next 20, 30 years? I mean, there'll be no social interaction.
That's why you have kids killing themselves, dude. That's why you have these kids, I can't handle being bullied because I got my feelings hurt. And then they kill themselves. And I'm not bashing the kids that have killed themselves. It's horrible that those kids felt that suicide was their only way out. But their parents, and I'm sure that their parents, if they found out, they might have done something. But you guys, honestly, this is going to sound harsh, but you failed. Because you should have set your kid up for success. You know, my parents were far from perfect, okay, because they're human beings. But the one thing, I mean, they did a lot of great things. But if there's one thing that I could give them credit for, besides making me think outside the box and stuff like that, it was that my mother and father set me up for success. Neither one of them wanted me to ever be a punching bag. My father and my father taught me how to fight when I was a kid, okay? And then my mother, you know, told me flat out, look, the only people you got to worry about is me and your father. You don't got to worry about the principal or anybody else. You don't start the fight, but you finish it. You're not a punching bag. And by doing that, she set me up for life. Because now that I'm older, okay, my father can attest to this. He's been with me places where people will try to do something stupid, like screw me over, even in the slightest way. And I don't tolerate it. I put my foot down and I end it right there. Bam, done. Okay? And you know who taught me that? My parents, when I was younger. So if you have children, the things that you're teaching them now, the things that you're doing in front of them, you might not think that they're paying attention, but they are. And they're learning.
And kids at a young age don't have any gatekeeper that stops these bad thoughts from coming in. And so if you tell a child, make sure you don't hurt anyone's feelings. I've heard that before. I literally heard someone say that before. You shouldn't hurt anyone's feelings at school. And it's like, don't hurt anyone's feelings? What does that even mean? You know, there are certain schools where they don't even allow the kids to touch each other because it might hurt someone, or it might be sexual in nature. I mean, we're turning into mamby-pambies here. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. Don't say something that make someone feel bad, which is supposed to really is help your kids, you know, with their self-esteem issues. Talk to them, and not some pre-canned, you know, animation and speak at the dinner table. The day was sure great, wasn't it? No, speak to your kids like they're human beings.
They don't even speak anymore, dude. I saw a meme on Facebook, and I swear to God, I've literally seen it in life. I saw this meme on Facebook where it was like the modern family dinner, and then like old school dinner in the 80s or whatever, and, you know, dinner now. And back then, everybody was sitting around a table eating and talking to each other, and then now it's everybody sitting around a table, and it's a live shot of people sitting around, and they're all playing with their cell phones at the dinner table.
Yep.
It's like a restaurant. And people could say, oh, well, it's a fake, you know, shot for a meme on Facebook. Okay. Well, I've gone out to dinner, and I've literally seen that. I've literally seen that there'll be a couple. My wife and I see it all the time. We'll go out, and we do like mini date night. And I make sure I do this with her, even if it's only a half hour, an hour, to make sure, you know, once a week or once every 2 weeks I try to do it, and we do it on the cheap. I have a really cheap, easy way to do it. You know, you sit down and spend 5 minutes, you could figure this stuff out. But when we go out, if we use a cell phone, it's so that I can stream Netflix and we can watch a movie or something and eat at the diner that we like to eat at, and do like dinner and a movie on the cheap, because I already have the Netflix account and I can stream it wirelessly to my phone. It's the only thing we use the phones for. Otherwise, if we go out, we make it our mission that, like, we don't turn them off. We'll put them on vibrate or turn the ringers off, whatever, but we put them on the other end of the table. We don't touch them. And we look at each other and we talk to each other. And we decided to make sure that we did that because we both caught ourselves playing with our phones too much. And we started noticing that couples would sit down, because we like to people watch, right? And we'd be sitting there, and all these people would be sitting around, and you'd be, dude, I swear to God, you'd look at these tables, and 50% of the people at the tables are all on their smartphone, playing with their phone, watching a video or texting or playing a game. And I'm just like, wow. Well, you know, this is the future generations, these kids. I don't think people realize that. When you're in your 60s and 70s, these are going to be the kids that are in my age and older running things, or getting into the positions of power to run things. You're forming how they think and how they're going to act. If you set them up for failure now and they're a bunch of pansies, how do you think they're going to be when if some sort of dictator came down the pike and wanted to take over? They'd be not even
They're gonna
easy
roll
prey.
over.
Oh yeah,
They're
they would just roll over. They would just give up and go, I'm done. I'm not even going to give you any resistance. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to breed that into the future generations. Your job as a responsible parent is to teach your child otherwise. Set your kid up for success. I've said this 1,000 times, and I guarantee you, if you teach them that when a bully's a bully, sometimes the only way to handle a bully is to put him on his ass. And you know what? You'd be surprised how many times the bullying stops. With that, I'm going to pause myself because we got a break sneaking up. Don't go anywhere. As I said, go check out Mike's website, stratrisks.com. We're going to be getting into Syria and a bunch of other stuff, and we still got hour number 2 coming up, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment of the first hour, but we still have hour number 2, so don't go anywhere. And Mike, I want to stay, I guess you could say, on this meme of setting your kids up for success here in this last segment. And then in hour 2, we can get into Syria and all the craziness, I guess, in the outside of the United States. And, some of the other scandals, I guess, rocking the Obama administration, whatever else you want to get into. But for right now, I want to stay on this for a few more minutes because this is super important. I mean, people need to realize that the future generations of this country are being formed right now. And if you teach these kids to be a bunch of pussies, I'm just going to be straight up and say it. You teach them to be a bunch of pussies. What's going to happen is when they are older, and bad things will happen to them, ladies and gentlemen, and you will not always be able to be there for them. And
you can't always fight their battles.
Well, that's how my mother was. She knew that bad things are going to happen, and in the future, she's not going to be there to protect me, okay? So she knew she had to instill in me the will to protect myself and the will and the smarts to take care of myself, okay, and protect myself and survive. And not only survive, but not just survive or just get by, but thrive, okay? And because she set me up for the future with those goals in mind, and my father as well, okay, because of their work raising me in the way that they weren't afraid to teach me to defend myself or take care of myself. When I was a kid, it wasn't abnormal for the kids to go out and play in the backyard, dude. My mother used to throw me out of the house. She would unplug the television and tell me, get out. Literally, get out of the house, go play, stop watching the retard box, she'd call it. That's what she would literally call it, the retard box, because she would say those things make you stupid. And my mother, not until later on in life when she was older and I was older, did she really focus on, having cable. And that was only because her kids were out of the house now and she was kind of bored once in a while when there was nothing to do. So if she wasn't reading because she was a bookworm, she had like basic cable. But she didn't focus on television when I was growing up because she knew that it was an idiot box. And she even would say to me, I can only watch TV for so long, otherwise I can feel it making my brain stupid and I can't handle that. And then she'd go read a book. I mean, that's just, that's the environment I grew up in. My father was the same way. By the time I was 6, 7 years old, he was giving me books on the Greek mythology and stuff, and teaching me all these different stories and teaching me about the past and urging me to go research stuff and, read. My mother was the same way. They were throwing me out into the backyard and telling me to go play with sticks and rocks and go get dirty and play with your Tonka trucks and come back covered in mud. My mother would tell me, don't come back until the sun comes down. Or you hear because she used to have one of those old school dinner bells hanging from the back of the house.
Ah, yeah.
And she would ring that thing. And, dude, you could hear that about a mile away. The way that it was set up off the back of the house and the way the area where my house was, there was a huge park behind it. And if we were in the park, if you were up the street like at a house or something, it was a little different because of the way sound and, travels and stuff. But it was on the back of the house facing the park. So if I was out in that park up to about, I would say maybe like 3/4 of a mile into the park, maybe a mile away at the most, you'd just faintly hear that ding, 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 ding. She'd ring it for about 3 or 4 minutes. And I had about 20 minutes to get home from that dinging. And if I didn't, I got dinged. You know what I'm saying? My bell got rung. And
you know what I've seen? Dude? I've seen this before. It's interesting. A friend of mine, they had two children, a boy and a girl, and they sat those kids at an early age in front of the TV set, and then wondered why their language skills were really, really bad. They could, barely communicate. And now, they're 4 and 5, and they still can't communicate as well as they should, because instead of, speaking and maybe reading and learning, basically, what it does, it ruins a part of your brain that has to do with speech and words and letters. and literally just dumbing down the child. I mean, I used to see it. Put him in front of the SpongeBob, put him in front of the Pokemon, or those other crap. And then they're like, well, they're not learning as quick as the other kids are learning. Yes, because you had them in front of the damn TV set.
Did you see the YouTube video? It's titled, Thank You, Steve Jobs. You have, I don't know if it's still up, but it was, Thank You, Steve Jobs. You have permanently rewired my child's OS, meaning the kid's operating system.
Yeah.
And it was his baby. I think the kid was like, I don't know, 13, 14 months old. And she's sitting there, and there's an iPad, and she knows how to, with her little hand, she's opening, making the motions with her hand and opening applications and zooming in and stuff on it and moving stuff around. The kid's already figured out how to make the iPad operate. So he moves the iPad out of her way, and she's all happy. He moves the iPad out of the way, and he puts a magazine in front of her. Basic, simple old magazine like kids normally play with when we crumple the paper and look at the images and go, Little kids, you can see when they're learning. If you understand little kids a little bit and you look at them, you can actually see when the kid's learning, and you're like, wow, you can see little gears spinning in the head. Well, this kid kept trying to zoom in on the page like you would with your hand, making
oh my god,
and she couldn't. She got frustrated within 30 seconds, couldn't operate the magazine the way the iPad operated, and started throwing a hissy fit. And the guy was proving a point, look what you've done to my child with this stupid iPad by Mark. You've completely. I mean, he's partially to blame for putting his kid in front of the iPad too.
Of course, yeah.
But you can't blame all Steve Jobs, buddy. But the point is, that thing rewired the kid's operating system. So now, when a magazine, something that should have things jumping off and making her go ooh, the kid got frustrated and started crying and throwing.
That's what Google is doing to us now.
Dude,
we're
it's
retaining information as well as we should.
No, we're becoming stupid. I'm going to cut us off, Mike, because the top of the hour break coming up. But ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, and we'll be right back with Mike's super important point. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. That's right, my website is FederalJack.com. Go check it out. It's got a ton of PDFs, videos for free, my archives. Let's see, it's all going on 7 years of articles archived there, stuff that's been disappeared from the net, tons and tons of stuff, all for free. Go check it out, FederalJack.com. Anyway, I am here hanging out with my good friend tonight, Mike Vail from StratRisks.com. Mike, we haven't even talked about your site for the new audience, so let's because it's a quick, short segment. We can get into Google and smartphones and everything dumbing us down and Siri and all this other madness, but let's take a few minutes, plug your site. What is StratRisks all about, and tell the listeners a little bit about it.
Basically, what it is monitoring the entire globe about interesting events, and really, I monitor just about all foreign intelligence agencies, okay? And that's where you find the dirt, okay? I knew about Mali about 4 months before because the French intelligence agency, DGSE, was running Operation Serval and Operation Sabre in Mali way before the war even took place. And it's just monitoring the globe for everything important. And also it has to do with risks, social, economic, military, everything else, and resources involved. And it's your one-stop shop. And the CIA visits every day, and you should too.
And he's not kidding when he says the CIA visits.
You've seen the logs, man.
Yeah, I've literally seen them. I'll be talking to him. He's like, "Hey, check this out. Screen capture, send to Popeye." And within 30 seconds, I'm looking at a screen capture of what he was just looking at. He's like, "Neat, huh?" Yeah, trust me, they do visit. So you should check it out.
Well, even more so now because what they're doing now is they're trying to react to information coming out, and they're trying to see who knows what. So when they come to my site by way of searching, I'm going to go see what they're searching, and then I found new information just by doing that, because somehow they found me, but it's like I don't have anything related to that, but let me find out what they're interested in, and man, you talk about a damn rabbit hole, dude.
Yeah, dude. In fact, I want to pick your brain. When we get back, because we're coming up on a break in about a minute and a half, but when we come back into the longer segment, we'll get into the Google and the smartphone thing dumbing people down, but I want to pick your brain because hour 1 already flew by, and I want to get into the Middle East craziness, what's going on in Africa. It's World War III, dude, is all I got to say. These insane individuals that are playing this multi-tiered game of chess are just, they're pushing for World War III. And if I know a lot of people like to say that letter that Albert Pike wrote to Manzini was fake and it's not real, but I'm going to tell you what, if it wasn't real, whoever wrote it, it either knows what's going on and knows the real game plan, even if it is fake, or the powers that shouldn't be are really, it is real, and they are really following that thing to a T. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on federaljack.com and just type in Albert Pike. Look up Albert Pike, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a bunch of articles about it, and actually there's like a huge 3-part article about the letter and him predicting how they were going to start World War I, World War II, and World War III. And damned if all 3 of the ways in this letter haven't happened. And the 3rd one is on its way to fruition. So we're going to be getting into that. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a short, quick minute with Mike Vail. Stratrisks.com. Check it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So let's finish up, Mike, with the Google retarding people down, smartphones retarding people down thought, and then I want to shift gears and switch on over to the Middle East and the craziness that's going on over there, and France going into Africa, and just obviously, I mean, it's on like Donkey Kong. So let's start off with your thought on when we got cut off. You were talking about Google. Google is dumbing people down, wouldn't you say? I mean,
absolutely.
I talked about this. I know you use it as a spell checker. I've done it. Like, am I spelling this word right? And you instantly go to Google instead of looking it up in a dictionary or trying to, sound it out like we were taught when we were kids, right?
Yeah, and then you go and you type it in. It's like, no, you meant this. But I saw an interesting article, a study by Columbia University that talked about the internet-related side effects. Not only said it is impacting our memory, but they said that it's changing the way that we remember things. Some things we may want to remember, we don't remember because we're so reliant upon Google that we'll just push it right out of our minds. And really, not only the depression that comes with all this kind of stuff, but the way Google really collates and puts information out there, what it does is, in the book, a great book, which I suggest you read, called Propaganda by Jacques Ellul, he said that, the people in the academia and the people that have tons of information at their fingertips are the most propagandized because they're basically drowning in information. And when you're drowning in information, you cannot discern the information and see what is valid and what is not, because literally there's so much coming at you that you're looking at. Let's say you go page by page in Google, you don't know what's real, you don't know what is not real. And really the problem is also it's definitely not healthy to be staring at a screen, 8 hours a day. Of course not. But it is rewiring the way we think, making us depressed, envious, self-doubt. I mean, everything under the sun. One day I happened to, cause I use an Android phone, I happened to find this little section on Google that has all my data from my Android phone. These fools have my voice data print, okay, they've got, of course, my pictures, facial recognition, everything in one central database. And actually the CIA has hired Amazon to create an intelligence cloud, a private intelligence cloud. And so eventually the internet will be like a real organism. We will be a part of the internet. The internet will not be something, it will be us. Because another good friend of mine who had worked for NASA, Charles Osman, said that it will become an organism. We will be basically a part of it, just like how the Google Glass is being developed with augmented reality.
They're literally trying to replace human consciousness and the connection that we all should have with one another as humanity, and on like a collective consciousness level, like the 100th monkey syndrome. They're literally trying to replace that with this synthetic one. And what did Petraeus say when he was the head of the CIA? We want an Internet of Things, because remember, they're giving dishwashers and refrigerators and all this other crap that shouldn't have IP addresses. I've had my hacker friends on before talk about this, and I've asked them, why are we giving an IP address to a refrigerator? And they said they shouldn't be, and the reason they're doing it is so they can track and trace everything we do.
Oh, it basically is integrating into the smart grid. and everything for your damn toaster to your damn game console is going to be how much power did it use? What did it do? What are you looking at? Matter of fact, the most recent Xbox that's going to be coming out, the Xbox One, basically at all times has a camera and a microphone, and you turn it on and everything else.
Look at the name.
The Xbox One, yeah.
Xbox One. You only need one video game console for everything. One government for everything. It's the same. People don't realize it, but that's that meme that's being pushed. But no, it's just a coincidence. I know. Maybe I'm looking too deep.
You're a conspiracy theorist, man. You're looking at it wrong.
Right?
But
yeah,
it's true, though.
I should be looking at it. I should be looking at it like I guess I should be looking at it like, oh my god, a new video game console, yay! You know what? I admittedly have an Xbox 360. I used to be a gamer. I liked puzzle type games and first person shooters, and I actually like the solving puzzles and riddles games more because it made me think. But I honestly, since I got into doing this, I haven't really touched the thing. The only time I used it was for probably about 3 or 4 hours after I had surgery. Over the course of time as physical therapy for about a half hour each time. I would use it for my hand to help build up some of the strength in my hand, and that was actually recommended by the therapist, that if I had a video. Did you know
that the way they have the system set up now with the first-person shooters, they're literally teaching kids how to shoot, and really you say you shoot a number of times, and then you drop the clip before the clip is empty and all this other crap. They're literally programming into little kids' heads. I remember the Army created a game called America's Army, and they're literally looking online for people who were the best shooters, and people, hiring to be drones. I mean, drones are now controlled by Xbox 360 controller type systems.
And that's where they actually went and found these kids, and this is not a lie what Mike's talking about. This is real. Remember, there's another game that came out probably about 5 or 6 years. Full Spectrum Warrior.
Full Spectrum Warrior. That's right.
And what does the Pentagon call their little warfare plan? Full Spectrum Dominance.
That's right.
Right. So when you hear Full Spectrum Warrior, you're like, wow. And then when I researched the game, I come to find out that what happened was these game developers of course, they say it was the game developers' idea. Mm-hmm. But what they did was they took what the Pentagon already had, the simulator that the Pentagon already had, and because, of course, look, the military-industrial complex didn't know dick about video games, so it had that rough, horrific, like Nintendo-ish look to it, okay? And what these guys did was they revamped it. And they took video game designers and they had them create the most ultimate, at the time at least, in-depth experience for a simulator for urban combat. And I can tell you, I played the game from the beginning to the end on the hardest level. And I'm going to tell you what, that thing, it's got every angle covered. You control a 4-man squad and you control every guy. I mean, minute actions of the individual. You're not that, can he scratch his nose or anything like that, but pretty much what you would need to do in a firefight. Where you're going to put fire. You have, suppressive fire over here, cover fire, support fire, whatever. You're going to have, you can do all this stuff. You can have them lob grenades in a certain direction, look over here and only fire if you see somebody, that type of thing.
They even had that thing called slicing the pie, basically where you shoot at a certain angle, where your body is not exposed, to any gunfire, but you can be able to shoot. There's another game,
and you know what? I'm going to tell you what. You know where that's the only place that you'll learn that is in the Marines. I'm sure the Army might have picked it up now, but that's a Marine Corps technique, slicing the pie. That's where you'd learn that. Okay, so, and like I said, maybe Army teaches it now too, but I know that and from what I know of it, that comes from the Marine Corps. So that can't be coincidental that the video game guys, some of these people, they don't know anything about the military. So yeah, if they say, well, we went to the Pentagon for what do they call that, liaison or consulting? Yeah, they consulted you, right? If you call them giving you the script and telling you what they wanted in the video game, because that video game pretty much created the generation of kids that's over in Afghanistan fighting now. That and the Call of Duty series and the Rainbow Six, the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six
I remember the Rainbow
series.
Six series. I used to play that one, dude.
Yep. I would say like the Rainbow Six series, Call of Duty, and that the games like America's Army, and then Full Spectrum Warrior, which was Marine Corps. You have Army, Marines, and then the first person shooter-ish, mindless first person shooter training. So they have two of the two main forces covered that for ground engagements, Marines and Army, and then you have a video game for each one, solely and whatever the person maybe wants to be a Marine or wants to be a soldier in the Army, and then you have the mindless first-person shooter games where you can be an Army guy or a Marine or Special Forces or CIA guy or whatever the hell else they put you in there, as in the Call of Duty game, and then the Rainbow Six one is another mindless first-person shooter. I mean, yeah, you have some objectives, but in reality, dude, you're walking around unloading ammo on bots. Okay, that's what you're doing. And what that does to a kid's brain is that really, really desensitizes them. I don't think people understand that. Yeah. Dude, there was a game back in the day, and I actually returned it because it just bugged me out. And that's one of the things that led me to look into video games and how it programs people's minds. And this was years ago, probably at least 8-9 years ago now. It was a game called now I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the premise of it was you were in like a city. And in the city was all criminals and stuff, and there was all these different gangs.
Was that Manhunt?
That's it. I think that's the one. And some of the guys
and
have
you would take bags and put over people's heads, and take like glass and stab them in the neck and stuff, man.
Yes, and it was ultra realistic for the time. I mean, for the graphics and engines that they had at the time,
gruesome. It was freaking gruesome, man.
Dude, you were taking a plastic bag. For the people that don't understand this game, the concept was you were like a criminal, and whether or not you were, I don't remember if you were wrongly convicted, whatever the subplot of that was, but you were these criminals, and say, like they tell the general public that they execute them, and then what they do is instead they drop them in like this like city, and it was filled with gangs and psychopaths, literally. And if you could survive the city and get out on the other side, kind of like a Running Man scenario type thing, but whatever, you win or whatever. And there's cameras all over the place watching you, and like a guy's voice that would talk to you and tell you, "Hey, pick up that bag and strangle that guy. There's a guy around the corner. Be careful."
I remember.
And the CGI scenes were ridiculous. Like, you'd sneak up on somebody, and you have to like hit the X and Y button or whatever, and literally you'd throw in the video game, the character would throw a plastic bag over someone's head, and you had to hit the buttons repeatedly to make it suffocate the person. And the view you saw was from like, if you were facing the person's face, and you see your character standing behind the guy with like his foot on the person's back and suffocating him with the bag, like wrapped around his head. And it was, I returned the game. I rented it from Blockbuster. I played the game. I think I, eliminated 3 or 4 people in the video game, and I turned it off and I returned it. And I said to the guy, "I don't like the way this game makes me feel." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "This game is weird." I was like, it's really creepy that like you get a rush while you're suffocating. But see, I understood. You see, like, that was my brain, even if I didn't realize it then. That was my brain being like, "No, this ain't right. Like, you should be getting a rush from."
Rockstar game. That was a Rockstar game, man.
Yeah, dude. So I stopped. That's when I started looking into video games and be like, can they control your emotions and make you physically feel stuff? And yes, they can. And that's the whole premise of a lot of this stuff.
You know what? I felt the same way. I was watching this movie. And basically, you know how in a certain part they have the drama where they pour it on, and you see people in movie theaters getting all teary-eyed, and it's like, why should I allow this stupid movie that that I won't even remember tomorrow to even like play with my emotions? I mean, literally like strings, like, oh, we'll tell you when to cry, when to be happy, when to be fearful, when to be sad. It's like a damn roller coaster ride of various emotions and desensitization, of your senses, to the point where all you feel is numbness, and the government will tell you how to feel.
Well, that's basically what's going on. I mean, you're being told how to feel. You're being told how to think. It's just ridiculous, and people don't realize it. People don't people think they're just playing a game, dude. They don't realize that, again, like you said, a lot of these kids now, go look at the drone controls. Go look at the controls on a drone. Wow, those controls look like a video game controller. I wonder if there's a coincidence that stuff... Oh, stop it. That's just a coincidence. It's not a conspiracy. It's not like somebody got together and actually said we should use the video games
so we can suck some stupid kids into joining the military. Exactly.
I'm going to cut us off. Break coming up. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back in a few short minutes. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Shifting gears, because Mike and I could stay on the whole video game thing for hours, but you go research it yourself. Video games are very... it's crazy how they change your thinking, and they can actually desensitize you to violence and things like that. And, I don't know what it was. I can't brag that it would be this, that, or other thing about me that caught it. I don't know what it was, but something in my brain saw it as a red flag, and and I'm glad it did. And more people need to realize that. And I'm not saying video games can't be fun, and chasing bad guys down can't be fun, and annihilating the bad guy in the video game can't be fun, but there's got to be maybe like a certain level where maybe an age set or something, because when kids are younger, and I know you don't want to hear this because people think that kids nowadays are much smarter than they were back in the day, but kids are very malleable. And the violence and stuff that they're exposed to, even if it's fictitious, will turn them into violent teenagers and adults.
Well, look what they would do with wrestling, man. I'll say this quickly. In wrestling, they see all this crap on, WWE, whatever have you. Then they go out and try it and then kill each other. Example, point, proven.
Well, we did it when we were kids. I mean, we used to pile drive each other into the grass in the front lawn. I mean, somebody always went to the hospital with a broken arm.
Yeah, but they don't seem to know about science, and that if you jump on someone's chest, from 5 feet up, you're going to kill them.
Well, look at the retarded things they do now, like snort balloons and eat things like spoonfuls
frogs,
of
man.
Yeah, well, idiots, dude. I mean, when we were kids, we did stupid things, but we weren't that dumb. We didn't do like blatantly obvious, like dangerous stuff. Oh, bleach, drink the bleach. I mean, it wasn't, hello. There was a little common sense there.
No, if we did something dangerous, it had to be fun.
Yeah, it usually involved like BMX bikes or skateboards or something like that, or a motorcycle.
And blood.
Yeah, and lots of blood. There was always blood and broken bones. And somebody was going to the hospital, but not right from there. Usually when they got home and showed their mother their severed hand or finger or whatever.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's when they would go to the hospital. And then they weren't allowed to hang out with you anymore for like a week or two because you were a bad influence. But then, within a week or two, you guys were all hanging out together again. So, yeah, been there. Been there, got the T-shirt. We reenacted wrestling moves one night. It was, I don't know, we were like 12 or 13, and I watched my one friend smash my other friend's foot so hard that his foot split open basically on the bottom half of the foot. He had to go to the hospital and get stitches. So he ended up spending the night in the hospital getting his foot stitched back together. So, I mean, kids do stupid things, but nowadays it's even worse. And yes, video games do have an effect. When people say, well, our generation grew up playing violent games, it was different. Yes, we did, and there was even the levels of violence we were exposed to at the time did have some effect on us. But the stuff that
but they didn't have people rigged up to an EEG machine, electroencephalograph machine, to see when a certain part of a game can really influence a child. I mean,
and they also didn't have the realistic graphics and stuff that they have now. That
blows someone's brain out and you see the brain.
Well, dude, I mean, Call of Duty again, guilty as charged because I've played the game, but the game. I think it was one of the special ops variants of the game. You got points and kudos and special things and whatnot for running up on people and shanking them. And in the game, if you killed them quietly with your knife instead of shooting them with like a silenced weapon or just a pistol, if you came up with like a knife in the video, the little CGI video that plays, the little cutscene, you see your character come up and grab the dude by his head and yank his head back and jam the knife into the soldier's throat. And you see the knife go in and blood and everything shooting out. You don't think that a young teenager playing that video game, you don't think that that's programming things into that kid's head? Why do you think when they then find daddy's gun in the house where the parents did a crappy job because they might not have taught the kid the proper gun safety, because in my house I knew where my father's guns were. I just didn't screw with them, because even if my father didn't know that I knew where his guns were, if I was rifling through the house and I stumbled upon something, it didn't matter. Okay? And my father was good about hiding them from the kids, but kids can be kids sometimes. But the point is, if I stumbled across that stuff, I knew better. I knew gun safety. My father taught me, so I didn't screw with him. But these kids nowadays, in the video game, they shoot their friend in the face, because remember, their friend's playing Xbox at his house, he's playing Xbox at his house, and they shoot their friend in the face 15 or 16 times a day, right? Maybe even more. Well, then they find a real gun, and in real life, they shoot their friend in the face, except there's no reset button, because now their friend's brains are all over the wall, and you can't come back from that. And they don't understand that, because their brains can't comprehend that, because they're still young. And that's how this game works. I'm going to cut us off, Mike. We're going to break. And when we get back, I promise, we'll get into Syria and Africa for a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. And as promised, we will get into Syria and Africa and Mali, because we got a half hour left. So, Mike, let's shift gears and switch over to... We'll start with Africa first. What's going on from what you see? I know, like you said, you knew about Mali months ahead of time before other people did, and you mentioned that first hour. So what's going on right now? Okay.
Allow me to preface it and give you the breakdown, okay? After World War II, and basically after World War I, when they destroyed the Ottoman Empire, Britain, France, and others decide to basically slice up the Middle East and Africa into colonial sections. It's called, you can look it up, called the Sykes and Picot Act. And if you notice that people in Algeria speak French, why? Because they're colonized by the French. Okay, basically, you have North Africa belong to Britain and France. A lot of remember Lawrence of Arabia basically ran Arabia, and so what you have now is that you had nations in the past that fought for independence, like Algeria and others, who are heavily colonialized, much like India was by the Britain Empire, and so they took their own destiny in their hand and they took over and kicked the punks out, and so now you're having a reburgeoning of this going on in Africa. And of course the military is very ahead of what's going on in these crises, and so they establish AFRICOM. You must know that the military has established command posts in every part of the globe. There's EUCOM, Eurocom, okay, there's AFRICOM, there's Central Command, there's NORTHCOM, there's SOUTHCOM, etc. They all have military apparatus and infrastructure on every part of the globe, just in case. And so as of lately, they've been talking about Al-Qaeda. And as I've said on your show many times, Al-Qaeda is a franchise, okay? As long as you have the paper hat and the manual and a black flag, you can be Al-Qaeda just like you can run a McDonald's store. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean anything. The Al-Qaeda that people knew in the 80s and the 90s is long dead. What you have now is a bunch of yahoos who have now taken over. And a lot of them have been paid off and to flare up things on a time. Go over here and do this. Go over here and do this. And so now you have a lot of militants in North Africa. And so now AFRICOM, which used to be all about, in pretext to say that we're all about helping you with disasters and response and feeding the hungry, now they have their own special operations military force. Here's the one from Defense Web. AFRICOM gets crisis response force. The U.S. military's Africa Command, AFRICOM, now has access to, check this, a crisis response force in the form of a special purpose military air ground task force crisis response team, SPMAGTFCR. They will respond to events like the deadly 2002 attack on the consulate, U.S. consulate. It wasn't even a damn U.S. consulate. It was a CIA consulate, but that's another story. What's going on right now is the retaking over of North Africa by Europe and the West. And essentially what this is destabilizing other nations like Tunisia, like Algeria. The whole Arab Spring was part of this. Do you think that they didn't know that that was going to happen, that it was just happenstance? People just rose up for no reason at all when they've been in the same conditions for decades and didn't rise up. No, we're talking about hired goons to destabilize countries for profit.
Yeah, and of course that's just a conspiracy theory, or it only happens in the films. It could never happen in real life, which that really, don't even get me started on that. People can accept that this stuff happens in the movies, but they can't accept that it actually happens in real life. And it's happening right in front of everybody. It's the recolonization of Africa. That's what's going on. Exactly.
And what it is that you've had various intelligence agencies that have done studies to say that, okay, we're having a problem. Apple can't get enough rare earth minerals to make our damn iPhones and other crap. And so we're going to need all this stuff if our economy is going to get to a point of status quo, bare subsistence life level. And we have to keep it there. If it goes any lower, there will be mass unrest. And so they have to get, of course, oil, gas, natural gas. They have to get minerals and gold, but they have to get rare earth minerals. And guess what? Guess who's got a lockdown on that? China. China has access to probably 80% of rare earth discovered minerals. Afghanistan just found out they have a huge mine of these things, okay? And so they're going to have, just in case, 9 military outposts by the U.S. that will stay in Afghanistan. And really what this is they've decided, they figured out where the resources are, who have them, who control what, and how can we get them. It's a case of God, okay? Gold, oil, and drugs. It's one or the other, okay? That's all there is. And so what they're doing, they're stabilizing these governments and then taking over under the pretext of, let me help you. And just like what happened in Mali, the French come in. Why did the French come in as opposed to anyone else? Because they've always colonized Africa. They've always controlled North Africa. And so when the stuff went down, they said, well, we've got mining equipment and mines in Niger and other places. We have to come in and make sure that they don't mess up the game. They've got to come in and stabilize the place just long enough so they can take it over and push the other governments out. And they just recently said that, oh, by the way, we're never leaving Mali. We'll have at least a 1,000-man force there just in case. In the same vein that Israel now, with Greece and Cyprus now have military infrastructure right along the pipelines. They know exactly what's going on, and they're taking over these countries piecemeal and repartitioning them.
That's exactly what's going on, and of course, it's not just about the oil. I see that's a big misnomer. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's just about the oil." Iraq was about oil. No, Iraq's about more than that. A lot of it has geopolitics behind it too. But Afghanistan is definitely about the minerals. And yeah, I mean, you can grow opium and poppies there and all that. But honestly,
that keeps our economy alive, though. I mean, for every drug that someone buys in the streets today, they're circulating Federal Reserve notes. And if you don't circulate them, and the cartels do not put the money in the banks, you won't have an economy.
Well, that's why, if people want to know the sick truth about why they can go to the store and spend like $3.50 on a box of cereal or whatever, or gas is only $3.50 a gallon. I know that sounds high, but over in Europe it's like twice that. If you're wondering why our prices are still down, even though inflation has raised things here or there, it's because the black market economy of drugs, the drug economy, the black market underground economy, is fueled. I mean, yes, they use other forms of currency and stuff, and weapons a lot of times are used, but the main form of currency used in the drug trade is the American dollar. So right. If they didn't use our physical currency, our American dollars, there are literally... I mean, can you imagine if all of that came crashing back to us, if all of that wasn't out in circulation amongst the drug lords and everything else, and then having it put in the bank, and then the bank being able to fictitiously loan money out based off of the money, the deposits, put in the bank. You have to understand something called modern money mechanics. It's actually a document that was put out by the Federal Reserve a couple of years back. You can go look it up. Actually, one of the Zeitgeist films, I think it was the second one, actually discussed it and talked about it. It was either the first or second one, but just go watch Look up modern money mechanics, and I'm sure there'll be a video about it or a snippet you can go find. But you have to understand how banking works, and then if you understand the basic premise of how the economy works, you'll understand why the drug trade. If the illegal drug trade, everybody's like, oh, they should shut the drug trade down, and I agree they should. But just so you know, if they did that, our economy is going to come to a crashing halt, which it needs to, so then we can redo it. Because it's fueled by evil and blood money. So we should, and death. So we should stop it. And maybe figure out a better, engine for it. But so people understand the reason why you can still buy cheap goods is not just because they come over from China. It's because the money that our economy is based off of, largely in part, is due to the dirty money in the drug trade. And that's one of the huge reasons it continues on and on and on, because it fuels this whole masquerade. I mean, this thing would come crashing down tomorrow if the illegal drug trade was stopped. And do you know how many other economies worldwide would come crashing down, I may add?
Oh, now check this out. In the year 2000, Saddam Hussein basically stopped selling oil for dollars, petrodollars. And he said he was going to go to euros or something else. Where is he today? Okay. Iran said they were going to do the same thing. Now the BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia, and China, said that their primary concern is to topple the dollar and create an international currency based upon their currencies. And so now they have to say, okay, we need this amount of minerals, we need this amount of oil, we need this amount of gas, okay, this amount of drugs to keep our economy circulating and to keep things being made. And so if, notice how they keep the interest rates really, really low. Okay, if I go to borrow some money, they'll give it to me at damn near 26% to 100%. When the bankers borrow money, they borrow it at 0.03% interest. And so, like you said, it's all about circulating it and knowing exactly where the resources are and how to get it. Now, they can sometimes get it by cutting deals and saying, okay, you got this, I got this, okay, and we have some sort of deal. But other times, people are not willing to give up certain things. Okay, and just like Egypt. And right after the Arab Spring, they're already cutting a deal on the resources. Okay, this is a little bit wild. This is out of control. You guys don't have it, really under control. We've got to get this down right now. We've got to get Israel in there. Let's cut a deal for the oil. You're the new administration. You're Muslim Brotherhood. We've been working with you since 1940s. Let's cut a deal. It's all let's make a deal. And if we can't make a deal, we go to the 3 Bs. Popeye, do you know what the 3 Bs are?
Go ahead, shoot, Mike.
Bribery, blackmail, and bullets.
Seems like the MO of everything that's gone on over the past, I'd say, 40, 50 years at the very least.
And the whole idea of the economic hitman. The whole idea of the economic hitman is not to, okay, we don't like these guys and they don't like us, we're going to bring them down. No. It's taking out the old and bringing the new with people that we can deal with. The only reason that Karzai is even in there, he really is because, one, that they can deal with him. He's an old oil man anyway.
Bags of cash. It's come out.
Yes.
It's recently come out. Oh, my God, surprisingly, Karzai gets bags of cash from the CIA. Really? Does this surprise anybody?
And it's not even going to Karzai. Karzai's got to bribe other people, other warlords, people in Waziristan, and say, okay, please do not come down the mountain and savage us all. Here is money. Here's some goats. Here's some property. Here's whatever you want. Take it and leave us alone. That's the only reason they have been totally savaged by the Taliban. And we created the Taliban ourselves.
So let's see. Where have I seen that before, that we create problems and then we offer the solution to said problem that we create? And actually, it's not we. It's the powers that shouldn't be. We.
Yeah.
We
well,
have nothing to do with it.
We, because we benefit. We all benefit. Because if this sort of thing wasn't going on, we'd be in hell in a handbasket in this country.
Well, your Bic lighter, you wouldn't be able to buy a package of 5 Bic lighters at Target for $3.50 if this wasn't going on. That's the sick, disgusting part of us. That's why we have to have a realistic conversation about it so that we can, A, figure out what the problem is, and then B, once we admit what the problem is and that there is a problem, then we can come up with a realistic solution on how we can get a positively based economy rather than this horrific blood money, death-based economy that is based on war and drugs and ripping off countries for whatever precious little resources they have left. Mike, we got
look at Latin America, man. Latin America. Okay, you had.
Hold on, I'm gonna cut you off because the break's coming up. But
the break's coming. Okay.
Yeah, I want to get into Latin America and I want to cover Syria in the last final segment for the last few minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Again, check out Mike's website and his articles and all his work over on stratrisks.com. We'll be right back. Final segment, ladies and gentlemen, and it is the final segment of the Friday edition. So that means that after tonight's broadcast, I won't be live again till Monday night. So you can always go to the archives and check all the shows out. Of course, they'll be up on YouTube, and hopefully this weekend I'll have a chance to get some stuff done. And I will get at least 2 or 3 more of the archives up on YouTube and posted as a post on the website itself. But anyway, I digress because we only have a few minutes left. Mike, Latin America and Syria, go.
Yeah, Latin America, you had certain nations saying, okay, you had your monopoly with our oil and resources, now we're going to nationalize. And that means interfering with their economy. So in 1954, the United Fruit Company, they had a coup and said, hey, you're ruining our business, it's interfering with our economy, then we have a coup and take over. It's the very same thing, okay? And as far as Syria is concerned, the Muslim Brotherhood has been in Syria for a very long time, attempting to take it over from, I believe it's 1973 to 1982. Israel and Jordan supported the Muslim Brotherhood and terrorism. I'm talking about blowing up hospitals, anything and everything that you can do to try to get the old Assad out in the same vein that they're doing now with this Assad. Not that I'm a cheerleader for any of these countries, because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and it's not like that.
Is that his father? But that's his father, right?
That's his father, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, go on.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that if I don't support the U.S. government, that doesn't mean that I'm going to support the Syrian government, okay? Because they're all despots and thugs, every last one of them. But the whole idea now is that, they were paying for all kind of weapons, the EU was, military weapons for the rebels. And we're talking about Al-Qaeda and anybody who will go fight over in Syria now. And now Iran has brought in Hezbollah now they're fighting. They've had a big fight over the last weekend, a lot of casualties, and it's becoming a huge proxy war. Now they're shooting back and forth with Israel. Israel bombed the hell out of them recently. Now they've got missiles set up, so if Israel does it again, they're going to get bombed. It is hell. It is crazy. And then who benefits from the new administration? They're all Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood is loved by the CIA because one, back in the days they weren't communist, and two, they're easily manageable. It's basically a secret society. It's a fraternal organization that goes back to the old fraternal organizations, and fraternal organizations working with fraternal organizations.
And people say that that's just a conspiracy theory. That doesn't really happen. There's no such thing as these roundtable groups getting together to recolonize Africa. Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, that's Operation Gladio. That's exactly what that was.
And then you get the Gladio Stay Behind network. And why do we still have NATO? I mean, what really, if anybody does any research, why do we even have NATO? Well, NATO should get involved. Why? They were supposed to only take care of Europe, after World War II for the Cold War.
That was their original charter. Their original charter stated they would only defend Europe. Now, they can bomb anybody.
Against communism.
Yeah, communism.
I know.
Even back then, communism was a damn red herring for doing whatever they wanted to do. I remember when Rumsfeld said on camera that the Soviets had an invisible weapon and we need a bigger military to deal with them. An invisible weapon. Just lie to me, piss on me, and tell me it's raining.
That's exactly what they do. They stand above our heads, they piss all over us, and they tell us it's rain.
And they treat us like mushrooms. I'm not going to go there.
Dude, they cover us in crap. They do. It is what it is. It's the truth. We don't need to be involved in Syria. I love how all these war hawks, we need to get involved in Syria, and then the the administration is like, well, it's our position that the rebels would not have used chemical weapons. I mean, they have nothing to gain by it, and that makes no sense. It only makes sense if the Assad regime did it. Oh, yeah, because that's the only thing that fits your narrative. Because
That's right.
Even though it's come out since then that yes, it has been. If the chemical weapons that were used were more than likely. In fact, I've seen reports saying that there was evidence saying that yes, it was the rebels that did use the chemical weapons.
Assad would be completely stupid to use chemical weapons because that would mean invasion time. Okay, that basically the only thing that's keeping Assad even in power is his inner circle of people that he's really been with for decades, okay, and his father's people, okay. So, I mean, if he did that, the velvet gloves would be off, okay, and it would be some serious bombings. But the problem is that Russia has given them a huge military advantage as far as ground-to-air weaponry with their S-300s.
It's going to be interesting to say the least if they try a ground invasion, and that's going to spark World War III.
And Assad is winning right now. That's
why they're pissed, because they thought he was going to fall, and he's not going down as easily as they thought he'd go down, and that's just tough titties, evil New World Order, Illuminati scumbags. That's the way it is. Mike, we're out of time. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, dude.
Hey, man, I think I dumped enough information for at least a week or so, man, but I'll be back.
Yes, you will. Ladies and gentlemen, now I've got Mike out of his little hiatus. I'll make sure he comes back on more often than not. Stratrisks.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out because the CIA does, and you should too. And with that, we are out of here for Memorial Day weekend. Be safe. Keep your eyes out. I love you all. Don't buy into the fear. We're out of here.